Breaking news. Donald Trump has attempted to remove Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Experts warn this could undermine America's financial independence. Why does this matter? Because the Federal Reserve is not supposed to be controlled by politics. And yet, here we are today. We'll break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and what it can mean for your money, your savings, and the future of American democracy. Pause, let's step back for a moment. The Federal Reserve, often called the Fed, is the central bank of the United States. It might not be something you think about every day, but its decisions touch your life in ways you might not even realize. When the Fed changes interest rates, your mortgage payment changes. When the Fed raises rates to fight inflation, credit card debt gets more expensive. When the Fed lowers rates to stimulate the economy, the stock market usually rises and borrowing becomes cheaper. And beyond that, the Fed plays a quiet but critical role in making sure America's money, the US dollar, remains the most trusted currency in the world. That trust is the foundation of global finance. Pause now, here's the key idea. The Fed is supposed to be independent. That means it doesn't take orders from the White House, from Congress, or from political campaigns. Why? Because if politicians controlled the Fed, they could manipulate the economy to win elections. Imagine this. A president facing re-election decides to slash interest rates just before November. The economy suddenly looks great. People feel richer. The stock market is booming. But after the election, inflation explodes. The dollar weakens, and ordinary families get crushed by higher prices. That's why independence matters. Without it, global confidence in America's economy could collapse almost overnight. Pause. So what did Trump actually do this week? He targeted Lisa Cook, one of the 7 governors who sit on the Fed's powerful board. Cook, a respected economist, was appointed in 2022. She has spoken about economic fairness, financial stability, and the importance of diversity in decision-making. Trump accused her of misconduct and tried to remove her. But here's the problem. The president does not have the authority to fire a Federal Reserve governor. Governors are confirmed by the Senate for terms that last 14 years. They can't just be fired for political reasons. The law protects them, and that protection is deliberate. It ensures that no president, Republican or Democrat, can simply purge the Fed when it's inconvenient. Cook has refused to resign. Legal experts are lining up to say Trump's attempt has no legal basis. So at its core, this is a fight over power. Does the president get to overrule the law, or does the Federal Reserve stand firm in its independence? Pause to understand how dangerous this could be. Let's look at history. For decades, American presidents have tried quietly to influence the Fed, but no modern president has ever outright removed a governor. The most infamous case came in the 1970s with Richard Nixon. Nixon pressured Fed Chairman Arthur Burns to keep interest rates low before the 1972 election. It worked. The economy looked strong. Nixon won re-election by a landslide, but the cost, inflation spiraled out of control. Gas prices skyrocketed. Food costs doubled. The value of savings accounts plummeted. Families who had worked hard for years saw their money evaporate. That decade, the stagflation of the 1970s, is remembered as one of the worst economic periods in modern U.S. history. And much of it started because a president meddled with the Fed. Now critics say Trump is opening the same door, but this time, even wider. Pause. So how are people reacting? Economists warn this could undermine America's credibility in global markets. If investors think the Fed is no longer independent, they may stop trusting U.S. bonds, the very backbone of world finance. Legal scholars call it an attack on the Constitution, saying no president has the right to take this power. Meanwhile, markets are uneasy, stock prices have wobbled, interest rate expectations are shifting. Traders are trying to read between the lines, wondering whether the Fed will hold its ground or bow to political pressure. And then there are Trump's supporters. They see things differently. They argue that unelected officials like Fed governors have too much power, that the American people, through their president, deserve more control over the economy. To them, Trump's move is not a threat, but a correction, a way to bring so-called accountability to the system. So once again, America finds itself divided. One side fears a constitutional crisis, the other sees a bold act of leadership. Pause, but let's talk about what this really means for you. If the Fed loses independence, your financial life could become far less stable. Mortgage rates could swing wildly depending on who's in power. Retirement savings might shrink if inflation runs unchecked. Credit card debt could spiral if rates are raised or lowered to score political points. Even the US dollar itself could lose status as the world's currency of choice. Think about that right now. Countries across the globe use the dollar as their safe asset. That's part of what makes the American economy so strong. If politics infects the Fed, that trust could erode. Imports would cost more. Travel would get pricier. Every day, goods, from gas to groceries, could become more expensive. So while it may sound like a battle in Washington, it's really about whether your paycheck keeps its value, whether your savings are safe, and whether America can keep leading the global economy. Pause, here's the bottom line. Donald Trump's attempt to remove Lisa Cook is not just a personal fight. It's a test of whether America's financial system remains independent, or whether presidents will start calling the shots at the Fed. If the Fed falls under political control, the ripple effects could last for generations. The dollar's dominance, America's role in global markets, the stability of your own financial future. All of it hangs in the balance. So now the question is clear. Will the Federal Reserve stand strong? Or are we entering a new era where the economy is just another tool of politics? What do you think? Should presidents have the power to fire Fed governors? Or should the Fed remain fully independent? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into America's biggest political and economic shifts. Thanks for watching.